10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the first ever RETCON Multifamily Conference. We're so glad to have everyone here. My name is Patrika Elise, and I'll be your MC for the next hour of the show. We've got some incredible content planned for you today. I just have a few key items to run through before we get started. This conference, as you've probably noticed, runs on the SwapCard Events platform. Everything you need to have an amazing RETCON 2020 experience can be found right here. First, let's talk about networking. In order to find your connection request, meeting request, and conversations with other attendees, simply click on the My Event button, which you can find either here or here. By clicking into this feature, you'll be able to see your meetings and meeting requests, and view your networking conversations and connection requests. Now, let's talk about the technology exhibits. RETCON 2020 features over 20 incredible technology products and services that were hand-selected by the RETCON team. Each one of these companies has the ability to help you push your company forward. Take a second to click around the virtual booths and explore what they have to offer. Inside, you can find more information about each company, as well as helpful white papers and other downloadables. If you have any questions or you want an on-the-spot demo, you can easily strike up a conversation using the chat feature. And that's it. We think you'll find SwapCard very intuitive and easy to use. Now that you're familiar with the SwapCard platform and how to use it, I just want to highlight one more thing before we begin the show, and that is the networking event that we have planned for you in a few hours at 5 p.m. Eastern. Today's networking event will feature a virtual trivia game hosted by LulaFit, and there will be prizes. During this experience, you will journey between breakout rooms for networking and friendly competition. Breakout rooms start with a meet and greet, followed by a chance to work together to answer a variety of trivia questions and topics. It'll be a fun way to connect with other conference goers through a memorable shared experience. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Now, let the RETCON 2020 show begin. I'll now welcome James Sharon, Senior Event Producer at RETCON, to introduce today's agenda and our first speaker.
Thank you, Patrika, and welcome everyone to the inaugural year of RETCON. I suspect the world of commercial real estate will never be the same. As Patrika mentioned, I'm James Sharon, producer of RETCON, and I've been working hard over the past several months to gather the best and most informative speakers possible. We're lucky to have leaders from the top nationwide multifamily owners and managers here to share their latest innovations. I'm excited to have you join us, and I hope you find value over the next 2 days. Now, we started RETCON in the midst of this pandemic because there's never been a better time for real estate owners to invest in technology. People's relationship with their built environment is changing rapidly. And now it's time to build real estate companies that will stand the test of the 21st century. For the first time event, we have over 1,000 senior level leaders registered, representing over 500 top multifamily owners from around the country and world, who collectively own and manage millions of residential units. You'll also encounter cutting-edge technology companies that are changing how multifamily functions. As you're probably aware, this event was application only, meaning our team handpicked every single one of you as industry leaders with the ability to push multifamily forward. And we couldn't be happier with the community that we've built. Now, let me introduce you to our first speaker today. When thinking of who should kick off RETCON, we thought who better than someone with insight into the many ways that technology is impacting our industry. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Constance Freedman. She's the founder and managing partner of Moderne Ventures, an early stage investment fund that is focused on investing in technology companies in and around the multi-trillion-dollar industries of real estate, mortgage, finance, insurance, and home services. Constance has invested in more than 70 companies and actively partners with 700 plus industry executives and corporations to help build strategic value and scale. Constance has been the recipient of several prestigious awards, including Housing Wire's Women of Influence, Crane's Business 40 Under 40, Swanepoel's Power 200, and Inman's Top 101 in Real Estate. And of course, she got her MBA from Harvard. Please join me in welcoming Constance to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Constance Freedman, and I'm with Moderne Ventures. And today we're going to tell you a little bit about some of the tech and innovation coming to the multifamily space. So I'm pleased to be here today and share some of this with you. So just first of all, we are a strategic investment fund. We focus on technology companies in and around real estate, finance, insurance, home services, and hospitality. And what I thought we would do today is I could tell you a little bit about Moderne Ventures. I'll share some tech and trends that we're seeing about capital pouring into the industry and things about how we see it really changing the industry. And then finally, I'm going to leave you with a set of practical applications, because what use is any of this if you can't do something about it today? So I'm going to just start, just a little bit of background just for some context. We started investing under this strategy in about 2008. We've raised 3 funds. We're currently raising our 3rd fund today. And we look at about 4,500 companies every single year. So we say no to almost all of them, but we've made about 100 investments over the last 12 years across our 3 different funds. So we understand the industry quite well. We understand the market, the opportunities, the gaps, the challenges, and that's really what we are investing in. And we do this under the structure of a fund, our network, and the passport. So I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about how we're structured. We generally invest in companies 2 to 20 million in revenue. So that's still early stage, but for you, that means that they are actually real companies. We go through a very highly vetted process to determine which companies we're bringing to the industry. And we work with about 700 corporates and executives across our industry, people looking for technology and innovation to create a competitive advantage, and often look for Moderne to help them do so. And then we run a program that we call the Moderne Passport. We started doing this in 2013. It's a 7-month systematic program to help connect our companies with our network, with the industry. And so with that, we have, like I said, brought in about 100 companies over the last 12 years across different asset classes. And really, we work with some of the largest real estate companies in the world across multiple asset classes to try to bring new technology and innovation into the industry. That gives a little context about us. Now, why do we care? Why is this important and why is this exciting? Well, there has been about a 600% growth in real estate technology investment over the last 4 years alone. Back in 2015, when I was just raising our 2nd fund, people would kind of pat me on the head and say, what a cute little niche that you're focused on. And I was like, well, but it's a multi-trillion-dollar niche. And what has happened over the last 4 years is I think that, nobody says that to me anymore. The space has gotten validated. And, this figure, the 32 billion, that actually only represents very specific tech companies. So it's not including things like DocuSign, where we were early investors in 2009, that is applicable to the industry, but not specific to it. And so there's a lot of companies, especially within our portfolio, that are outside the industry, but has applicability in the industry. And that number is not even represented here. So it's actually far greater than 32 billion coming into the markets today. So why is there so much excitement coming into real estate technology? Well, just as paper-based processes has lent themselves to digital processes, broadcast TV has lent itself to Netflix, hotels to Airbnb, what we and a lot of outsiders see is that real estate represents, they've got a lot of antiquated processes and, really represents something ripe for change. And I think the bottom line is you either let technology happen to you, and that's how you get disrupted, or you innovate. And so, there's a lot of people that say like this can't ever change a lot in this industry. But, as we see things like Airbnb and WeWork and some others, things can change. And in a time of uncertainty where we are today, they're more apt to change than ever before. It's easy to not do anything when things are going well. But I think right now, and especially in times of uncertainty, this is a time when it's really important to look at how can we think about doing things different. What if real estate is different 5 to 10 years from now than it is today? And so, COVID or no COVID, we want to be thinking about those things. We invest in technology to generate returns. And that can mean an investment, meaning like an investment like we invest, but an investment in just how you use and what partners you choose to work with within your organization. And so the way that we work with our partners to think about technology is you should be looking at it to create returns. And that can be in the form of higher revenue. It can be in the form of decreased OpEx or adding value in some way such that you increase your NOIs or you increase your operating bottom line at the end of the day. So this is how we think about it. We think about key business challenges and what are the key business challenges in our industries and what new technologies can we bring in to address them. Now, these business challenges are not unique to real estate, but they're very applicable. We're always thinking about how do we earn more referrals? How are we going to generate leads? Not just every lead, but qualified leads. We have a communication issue, whether that's across the business or with our residents. There's, of course, a financing and insurance element to every deal we do. We can think about how do we operate more efficiently? How do we transact more efficiently? How do we lease more efficiently? And of course, this is very much a relationship building business. And so over the years, we've invested in different technologies that address each of these. And we'll go through some of these today. Another kind of way that we look at what we do is, again, these are those 5 business challenges that I mentioned. We layer them across different asset classes and then also across the life cycle of a transaction. So again, we have, within that 100 portfolio, tech company portfolio I told you about, we're really looking at how do you improve every aspect or how do you make every aspect of the real estate world more efficient. So again, what really matters is how does this increase NOI or how does this increase my operating income? And so when we work with partners and what you guys all should be doing within your businesses internally is think about if we layer on different technologies across our portfolio, what incremental benefits do I receive from that? Again, whether that's revenue or OpEx, and can I actually get a meaningful difference? And we have a case study from one of our partners that does multifamily office and master plan communities, and we found that by layering on different technologies, they could increase their NOI by as much as 8%. This is a multi-billion-dollar fund, which obviously has huge impact on their bottom line. All right, so I'm going to now kind of come to the third part of the presentation, which is thinking about practical applications. What can you do today if you wanted to take advantage of some of these things? Now, we bring in about 10 to 20 different companies every single year, either through our passport or through investment or both. And so I'm going to highlight some of the newer ones that we're working with right now. Some of these you might already know, some of these you might already be working with, but I'm going to put them into these 3 different categories of companies that can help benefit our top line revenue, decrease OpEx, or adding value. You're going to see that some of these are COVID specific or have value either due to or because of or in spite of COVID, and others that are just make good business sense. So I'm going to just highlight a few of these companies today for you. All right, I'm going to start with Leaselock. So Leaselock completely eliminates the security deposit, but continues to ensure property owners and managers against rent loss and damage. So by not having to pay a security deposit, we have found that Leaselock actually increased the lift in lease conversion because people really appreciate not having to come to the building with having to pay that additional security deposit. So what we found, and this is a real case study with one of their partners, they can get as much as a 19% increase in the closing ratio lift. They generate ancillary income, which I know is a really hot button for multifamily today. And so, what the renter does is instead of paying that security deposit, they pay about $20 per month extra. And as an owner operator, you can increase that to say $25 a month, make an additional $5 on every unit, and actually create a pretty good profit from that across the portfolio. And then, of course, there's bad debt reduction and decreased administration costs just by not having to deal with security deposits anymore. So in a real case study with one of the NMHC top 50 operators, they found that they were able to increase NOI by as much as $182,000 per building across a 90 building portfolio. That's about $16.5 million annually. So, really valuable case study from Leaselock. All right, I'm going to talk about Vive. So Vive is antimicrobial lighting. Now, this is a company we started looking at years ago. And one of the reasons why we were excited about it is because a lot of our partners were saying, well, how do we increase wellness in our buildings? We want people to breathe fresh air and have clean surfaces. And so Vive is an antimicrobial lighting technology. It eradicates about 99.9% of all bacteria. Doesn't kill the viruses, so it's not a complete solution, but different from UV lighting, which has existed for a long time, but is not safe for humans. The Vive uses something called VLD technology, which actually is safe for humans. And so you can put it in your gyms, you can put it in your showers, you can put it in your common spaces, in your apartments, kind of everywhere, and actually make the building more healthy, make the building safer. And so it is used. Delta Airlines just did a big deal with them. So they're starting to put it into planes. It's used in food services. It's used in gyms, offices, and of course, across residential food services and medical spaces as well. They're even talking to one of the big elevator companies about putting it in the elevator buttons themselves to help eradicate germs in that way. Next, I'll talk about Stride. So Stride is creating benefits for the gig economy workers, non-benefited workers. And in this case, we're also talking about non-benefited residents. If we look at 2008 to 2010, when unemployment went sky high, one of the things that we saw was the big rise of the gig economy worker, right? And now a lot of the gig economy workers are living in your buildings. What that means is that they no longer have health insurance. They no longer have benefits that traditional employers gave them. So what Stride does is actually creates a benefit platform that can be powered by you. It can be a building benefit option for residents. So today they power companies like Uber and Postmates and DoorDash, Keller Williams, and they provide this to their 1099 workforce. Stride is partners with about 200 healthcare plans nationwide. They have a super simple platform that, like I said, can be co-branded for you and offered as like a lifestyle benefit. And one of the nice things about that is that if they leave the building, they're still getting health insurance through your building. And people really appreciate that. More importantly, they look at that as loyalty and a reason not to leave a building, but a reason to stay. All right, I'm going to talk about now flipping more over to sort of efficiency and OpEx savings within the buildings. I'll start with a company called Unicast. So Unicast is a data company, and it provides human mobility data insights. So it can track, actually with our phones, oh, you can't see my phone. It can track with our phones pretty specific demographic data and how people migrate, how people move around. And so if we're thinking about where to develop the next building, what site location or what retail to attract to our multi-use buildings, it can give a really great insight about who's coming and where. We can think about what neighborhoods are about to get hot based on who gets dropped off where and when, or where people are commuting during the day. So really great demographic insight and something that can help particularly in development or new purchase ideas for new buildings. All right, this is kind of boring, but actually can create a lot of benefit. So lawn care and snow removal. So Task Easy is kind of like the Uber of lawn care and snow removal. They cover about 99% of all zip codes and can manage lawn care and snow removal across your whole portfolio. So instead of having thousands of different contracts with thousands of different maintenance workers, if you don't have 100% maintenance staff in your buildings, you can use Task Easy as your one-stop shop nationwide to manage all the lawn care and snow removal across your portfolio. They've mowed over 2 million lawns across every state, and they service over 30,000 properties every month. So, really a good solution for those of you that don't have on-site maintenance staff in all your properties. All right, another boring one, but also important, air filters. So Second Nature is a subscription-based air filter company. They will deliver air filters to you on a quarterly basis, so you have the maintenance that you need for HVAC systems. Now, why is this important? Obviously, if we don't take care of our HVACs, they break down. That's a lot more costly than maintaining them every quarter. But even more important, we can look at not having to store all this stuff on site. It shows up. The staff, the maintenance staff, then installs it, and it makes sure that things get done, and it also eliminates storage space. And they've got everywhere from kind of low level all the way up to MERV quality. This is one of the best defenses against viruses, and so something that's really important. We find that there's a 30% reduction in HVAC maintenance, as well as 25% savings in over current filter costs. So this can really have an impact on bottom line as well. All right, maybe another boring one, but really important, cybersecurity. About $3 million is lost by SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses, each year in cyber attacks based on from business disruption and other things. And so imagine that your building gets attacked, or your buildings or corporate headquarters. It's really important to go against, but also ensure against these potential big damages. And we're seeing this happen more and more because these hackers are, worse during these downturn times and take advantage of people more than ever. So something that we see is really important, particularly coming into this space. All right, I just have a couple companies left that I want to share with you. And this is more on the ancillary income. So how do I make more money? Traditionally, we look at real estate as being valued by, cap rates, commissions, leases, rent, income. But, there are other ways we can generate income. We can build an ecosystem around a building to make that building or make our revenues higher than they typically are through traditional means alone. So I'm going to just share a couple of companies as an example of that. The first is Moto Refi. This is a company this is our most recent investment, actually. And so what Moto Refi does is it completely digitizes auto refinancing loans. Now, what the heck does that have to do with real estate, you might ask? But I will tell you, it has a lot to do with it. So bear with me. I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I'll bring it back to why maybe it's important to you. All right, so about 80% of people 80% of people finance their new car loans, their new car purchases. And almost 100% of them do that through dealers. So it turns out dealers make almost no money anymore on selling the cars. It's almost all through their financing. And so what Moto Refi does is it completely digitizes auto refinancing. We find that people can save $100 to $150 a month on this, which basically creates an average of about $1,200 a year of additional disposal income for your residents. And so this is important to make sure they can meet their rent each month. Now, most importantly, they give a $200 bounty, a $200 referral fee as a rev share. So a good ancillary income. Ritual is bringing virtual food courts to the building. So people are, working from home is a new normal. Even after COVID, we think that's going to stay. And so what Ritual does is sort of replaces the, old way of knocking on the door to a neighbor saying, hey, I'm going to go out and get coffee. It allows that to all become digital. So it promotes community, but also, allows you to have contactless pickup and bring local businesses basically into your building. And then finally, the last one, the coin box for dry cleaning. Dry cleaning as an amenity in your building. This is self-service dry cleaning units. It takes about 10 minutes to dry clean. And so when people start to care about work clothes again, having this in the building can be, really useful. All right, so these are just a few examples of how technology is changing the world, obviously changing the way we live, work, and play, and certainly changing how we do business today. So what I hope that we, I leave you here with are some things that are actionable, something valuable, and some things that are new. I invite you to take action on innovation. It's like I said, it's really easy when things are going well not to do anything. It's more important than ever to think about new tech and how it can improve your business in some of these uncertain times. So it's important to recognize the value and to do something about it. What can you do? So, if you're interested in learning more about some of the things that we're doing, we invite you to become part of our mentor network. And what that means is that every other week we hold these mentor meetings, provide a way to help you meet some of the new companies coming into the States. You can find more about this on our website. We work with each of our technology companies to create pilot programs. So a way for you all to try before you buy. We invite you to participate in that. But most of all, we think you should be investing in technology for your businesses today. We think you should be engaging, and bottom line, make technology happen for you and not to you. I hope this was informative for you and useful. My information is here, and happy to connect and share more about Moderne Ventures with you all. Thank you so much for having me be part of the conference today.
Wow, Constance, thank you. That was an amazing way to start off RETCON. Before we welcome our next speaker, enjoy this quick commercial from our sponsor, ResPage. Next up, we have a very special conversation to provide us with the CEO perspective. Our first CEO comes to us out of sunny Los Angeles, Bob Hart, who leads True America's growing portfolio of 43,000 units. Bob is an industry veteran, having led Kennedy Wilson's Multifamily group from 2000 to 2013 prior to founding True America. It's a pleasure to have him with us. Our second CEO, Walt Smith, hails from not-so-sunny Seattle. Walt leads property management firm Avenue Vive, which manages over 60,000 units. Another industry veteran, Walt led HSC Real Estate for 18 years until it was bought by Riverstone Residential Group, where he became CEO before joining Avenue Vive in 2014. And this conversation between Walt and Bob will be moderated by Dino Vakoutis, a senior lead at the real estate tech company Corrigo. If you're unfamiliar, Corrigo specializes in facilities management and is owned by JLL. Dino is on the cutting edge of real estate technology, Hence, he'll be a great guide to this conversation. Dino, take it away.
Thank you for everyone for joining. My name is Dino Vakoutis. I am with Corrigo, and honored to be joined by two leaders in the multifamily space, Walt Smith and Bob Hart. Walt, if you could give an introduction of yourself and move over to Bob, and then I'll finish up with my exciting background.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dino. It's great to be on the panel here and to be a part of your first show. My name is Walt Smith. I'm the CEO of Avenue 5 Residential. We manage about 75,000 apartment homes in 13 states in the District of Columbia, mostly out in the West, and our headquarters is in Seattle, Washington.
Excellent. Thank you. Bob?
Thanks, Dino. Great to be here with you today and to be with my good friend Walt Smith. True America is a multifamily operator that manages approximately 44,000 units throughout 16 states in the U.S. We focus primarily on value add and workforce housing. And we're glad to be here today to discuss how technology and operations mesh together here.
Fantastic. Well, again, honored to be with you two gentlemen together, representing over 100,000 multifamily units. Needless to say, two of the leaders in the space. Again, I'm Dino.
There's overlap there, Dino, because I'm a client of Walt. So there
okay. Well, thank you for that.
I want you to double count.
All right. That sounded good at 100,000, but all right, got to round down the.
I think it still adds up to just over 100.
Again, I'm Dino Vakoutis, the National Sales Director for Corrigo. We are a maintenance solution. All we do is maintenance. We're, deep and wide solution in the maintenance world, multifamily, commercial real estate, so on and so forth. And honored to be on this panel with you gentlemen and to moderate, ask you some great questions and get your input. So with that, let's move on to our first question today. And that is, from a high level, let's start with you, Walt. What are the most exciting advances you've seen in real estate technology over this past year?
What I would say is that I'm probably similar to most leaders in our space or any space for that matter, that when I hear about technology that is going to be a game changer, to me, that means that we need to be able to streamline our business process while utilizing it, reduce associate workloads in some fashion to improve efficiencies, to automate data to deliver actionable insights. So in other words, let's get some data out there that we can quickly understand and make change that will hit the bottom line for us. And then on top of it, probably the most important part of it is to be able to deliver service to our customers, our residents, in a way that is convenient for them and effective for them. And at the same time, have that work with our associates, mostly on site, that they can improve how their ability to deliver this to our residents, so that we have this happy ecosystem out at the property level.
Yeah. And I imagine that visibility is a big part of that with, the world we're living in today and not being able to have as much contact with your residents as you have in the past. So I'm sure technology.
That has certainly brought this to the forefront without any doubt, Dino, in the last 9 months here.
Yep. How about you, Bob?
Well, I think, technology's been here for a while. I think today, though, given the environment we're working in, it's being utilized in many respects to make up for situations that are caused by the pandemic where we can't engage directly. So it's become a risk mitigant in this instance to prevent the spread of COVID. So we're using it for virtual tours. We're using it to check people's identity. We're using it to speed up processing of leases, which lead to stabilization of revenue management and so forth. So I think it's become more highly utilized and more highly dependent upon, and I think that's a good thing. It's making everybody more comfortable both on the consumer side, as Walt put so appropriately, creating a happy ecosystem, if you will, with our residents. And I think everybody is benefiting from it. So I think it's going to continue, and I think it's going to be more and more accepted through this whole period that we're going through right now.
Right. And on the virtual tour side, because I know that's a big part of your business, is that something that your current Yardi is delivering, or are you using a third-party solution for that? Any of you on that one?
Well, we're utilizing most of our websites are through Yardi.
Right.
But things that have changed during the pandemic, and this is on True America's properties and most of our other clients' properties, is chatbot AI is being utilized 500% more than it was before. Many people really didn't even know what it was, on January 1st of this year in our space. So, I mean, it's substantial change. To have machine learning to answer questions, online on the website, it's a fantastic development. The self-guided tours in numerous fashions have really proven to be, I think, the single biggest surprise in our space since the 1st of April. How effective they've been and how many apartments we've actually leased. Bob and I were talking back in April, and we're going, my gosh, how are we going to survive this, with our offices closed?
No kidding.
Doors locked.
Yeah. And I think one of you mentioned in an earlier conversation that looking at some of the analytics, if somebody has been in a space where they're, doing a virtual tour, if they're in there over 10 minutes, the likelihood of them actually renting is over X%. If they're in and out, that kind of data is important, because then it allows you to go and market the best prospects directly. I gotta think.
Yeah, it's a 20-minute tour in our space that we're benchmarking.
Gotcha.
That we have substantially more success.
Yeah.
I also think we're living in kind of the Amazon generation here, where people can go shopping in the middle of the night. They can do the same thing shopping for apartments now. They can do a virtual tour. They can see street views. They can see all kinds of 360-degree imagery. And that allows the renter to have much more flexibility in when they want to see and look at an apartment and review it without having to make a site visit. So that's the amazing part of the use of this technology now and the advancement in virtual tours. It's a great thing.
Makes sense. It makes their experience much more efficient, because they can look at 10 apartments in a matter of 2 hours versus driving around town and spending.
Well, we only want them looking at our apartment. So.
Exactly. Well, I know. Right.
I want them to look at ours at least 10 times.
Now you're talking. Well, you guys are that large. They probably are looking at only yours. So.
And they can actually stage a vacant unit. We have that technology now where we can put in their style of furniture and
oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let's jump over to the next question. Panelists here. Right now, needless to say, rent collections have been a significant piece of the conversation, right? Multifamily space as well. How have you utilized technology to ensure a smooth and sufficient rent collection, or to, and I want to add to this, incentives to make sure the rents are coming in on a timely basis? I've heard different points of view from different operators on that.
Our ability to create dashboards to measure everything that's going on in this new environment for us has really been a game changer. Utilizing our business intelligence tools, creating new dashboards where we can see which properties are collecting strongly and which ones aren't. How do we for what reason did we succeed at the properties that are, aggregating that data so that we can see why are we getting traction at one property versus another, and how are people actually finding us, and what are the most effective leasing tools right now. And it varies substantially from the suburbs, secondary markets, to the core markets. And so it's really been a fantastic process. It's been stressful, because we're all new at it. And, we're counting every dollar compared to the way that we used to look at this business.
Right.
So that I would say dashboarding and real-time data, that comes in every morning, and we can slice and dice that data, and for the Bob Harts of the world to be able to see that data in a real-time fashion, it's just completely different than what we've experienced in the past.
Yeah, and I think that's what Walt is saying, and this speaks to both his company and his peer group in the industry. If you really look back to March and April, when everybody had to really rely on data, the sharing of data, the amalgamation of data as an industry, not just what's True America doing or what is Avenue 5 doing. It's really what's the industry doing, and being able to amalgamate that data both at a regional level, a national level, and then measure your own results, really is a testament to the use of software and being able to read data quickly and share it, and mix, types of units, types of locations, so forth and so on. That's really allowed the industry to feel more secure about where it's going in terms of collections and revenue at a time of stress. So it's been amazing to see this pivot, and I think the software and the platforms have allowed us to do that.
Have you been offering unique incentives to get that rent on time? I've spoken to clients of ours that have said, well, that first rent payment that was due, I think in April or March, the one that everyone was worried about, and they offered incentives like, if you pay on time, then we're going to give you X% discount. They varied the discount, and they tested different things to see what worked best. And they had some buildings where they didn't even offer a discount, and it was substantial difference when they did offer like a 10% discount as example for timely payment, that the rent collections were 95% plus. Because it's not that the rent payment's going to go away; they're going to have to pay it eventually, right? So, did you guys offer any incentives like that worked, or some that did not work?
Well, I mean, we have numerous payment plan options out there that are very consumer friendly. Because I wouldn't say that we've had a substantial number of discounts in regards to it. The reality is, in the market right now, there are discounts available already because many of these markets are they're not. It's no longer a landlord's market, so there's a lot of incentives out there already, just built into the leasing program.
Yeah, especially.
Yes.
Much of that also, is that a lot of landlords have not been able to collect what we'll call other income, whether it be RUBS, late fees, or application fees. There's certain forms of other income that either been temporarily suspended or voluntarily suspended, not just by law. And I think that has reduced I'll call it the owner's income in of itself. And then, of course, there's the collection aspect with Walt mentioned, which is the payment plans and the deferral of rent. In some cases where people have chosen to move, many landlords have basically taken the keys in lieu of cash. So
Right.
I think everybody's developed a high level of flexibility.
Yep, makes sense.
The most amount of flexibility that I've seen in the 30 years I've been
Ever. Yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, you have to adapt. So
Adaptability. Yep.
you bet.
And you need to have a heart.
That's a good, yeah. No
Literally
question
and
about it.
figuratively, right?
Yes. Everybody needs a heart.
No, but seriously, what Walt is saying about having empathy and having a heart, the resident is really your partner right now.
Yep.
And I think the landlords that have embraced that, I know we have had an easier time than the ones that have resisted it. And some have resisted it so much where they've gotten backlash from state's attorney generals. We certainly don't want to be in that position. And we try to be highly empathetic while at the same time being businesslike in our approach.
Yeah, that makes sense because that other approach will definitely follow you post-pandemic, right? when things are
Exactly.
going
It
great.
will.
And
Well
they
said.
get Google reviews
Yeah.
and yeah, so no question about it. Let's jump to the next question, if we could. So needless to say, we just mentioned that earlier, right? We're seeing people migrate from the cities into the suburbs. Will this change the way you operate your properties, and how will this impact the way you view technology in these properties if your properties are now moving out in the suburbs and fewer in the cities, things like that? Bob?
Well, we're primarily a suburban landlord. We're not as much of an urban landlord, so that change is not drastic for us. We tend to operate, call it, in a 20-mile ring road radius of the major CBD. Certainly, more urban areas have more highly concentrated assets where people are varying rents quickly and creating specials because of lease ups and so forth. We're not faced with that as much, so we're maybe Walt can address that one a little better than I can, because we're
Well, I would just say that we're going to have to catch up out in the suburbs, Dino. I mean, we manage more properties in the suburbs and secondary markets than we do in the urban core. From a portfolio standpoint. So I would just say that the technology that can be cost effective, as I've already discussed, will gain traction out in the suburbs. The rents aren't as high, the net operating incomes aren't as healthy, and we have to really pick and choose what it is we're going to employ in the secondary, tertiary markets, the further out, the 40-mile out ring, 30-mile out ring from the core. But we're going to be challenged to catch up, because we've been doing it more of the old-fashioned way out there still, and that's going to have to change.
Yeah, I also got to think that I know that the further you get out, that finding good vendors becomes a little more problematic.
No question.
Yeah, so lots of multifamily operators that, they have the intermediary markets, that one little city between, whatever it is, Houston and Dallas, that they can't get any because all the vendors are in Houston. So that has got to be something, I know your large properties, you have in-house teams doing the vast majority of the work, but I also know you use outside vendors, elevator, things like that. So.
Just one great example would be revenue management. The closer you get to the core, virtually all the properties are on revenue management. But the further out you get, that revenue management just hasn't been employed because the market wasn't as dynamic. You could make a half a dozen phone calls and feel like you're in touch with the market. Well, that's changing now.
Right,
for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. My mom just rented a new place, and I was here in Atlanta, and she went in. They gave her a 48-hour contract, and she went in 3 days later, and in 3 days the rent had gone up from $1,032 to $1,200 or whatever. It's like, how's it even happen? So obviously we're using a lot of analytics in real time to drive price. So,
well, I hope you tried to intercede and negotiate for her for a better deal.
yeah, we found her a new building. So
Excellent, Dino.
Yep. My mom's 78. Come on, right? You can't do that to a 78-year-old lady with a walker, for crying out loud. So, but anyway, yeah, we got her a great place. Anyways, let's jump on to the next question if we could. Thank you. So how are you seeing, technology impact due diligence, and is, obviously due diligence is primarily about doing an inspection and looking at the numbers, but also taking a look at some of the data, like maintenance data for that building. What are you guys using to look at that historical data as part of your due diligence process?
Well, I think there's no substitute for just reviewing files and looking at data, but I think in terms of technology, in terms of due diligence, and even when you already own a property, in terms of maintenance, we're using drones now. So we're using drone technology to help us assess, conditions of roofs and decks and things, so we can get visuals on things faster when we're not visiting a property. We're also using it not just in maintenance, but when you're providing an overview to your investors who can't necessarily be at the property, The technology, whether it's FaceTime or drones, have come in very, very handy to bridge the distance that people can't necessarily visit right now because of health concerns.
Yeah, we've actually performed due diligence for our clients 30 times during the pandemic, and 20 of them have been entirely virtual, which is, that's a completely new concept to us and to obviously to our client who's buying the property.
Right.
We're used to having people climbing all over these buildings, as Bob was talking about, using drones, and we're now doing the entire lease audit virtually, and we're doing all the inspecting all the maintenance records virtually. Probably have somebody do site inspections in person, but we certainly have performed a lot without going into the properties. So we're sending questionnaires to the residents about the condition of their units. So we're having to get email addresses for residents and whatnot, and we're communicating with them. And then I think it's changed a little bit of the structure of the deal. There has to be some mechanism in some of these deals for post-transaction to be able to go back once the pandemic is over and review some internal workings of the properties.
Yeah, I got to think of the inspection. Because inspection is a huge part of it, right? You want to touch and feel what you're buying. And whether it's a drone, which is obviously a view from afar, typically inspections are in person using an inspection tool. I can imagine that you guys maybe be recording the actual inspection, right? You're looking at a 300 unit building, maybe record the inspection of 8 of the units. You're not going to inspect all 300 units. Maybe the purchase is contingent upon
exactly
right, similar, right. So I got to think that definitely has changed it quite a bit. But a robust inspection tool has got to be important for the due diligence, as it is with your day-to-day operations, I think. So,
well, the more automated the service records are, and so forth, the more user-friendly you become as a seller or a buyer, and understanding what the building's all about without having to comb through paper.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Which, of course, that's what we do. So, there's no paper in our process, but also it's about putting all the maintenance data into a single solution. Typically you might be using a maintenance solution from a Yardi, RealPage, or whomever, but your Otis elevator or your elevator data is not in there, or your fire life safety. That stuff exists in other solutions, and you have to kind of put it all together. That's one of the places that I like to say Krigo shines, is it is all in a single solution, because we push it out to those vendors and have visibility into all the work they do. So, quick little sales plug for Krigo there.
Well, Walt, if we're not using it, we better start using his.
He already hit me up when.
I know. See, Bob, I appreciate it. I sent Bob $100 for his microphone not to work, so I could hit.
Oh, thank you.
Pitch. So. But you're next, Bob. I'm just warning you. Okay.
All right, I'm in.
Anyway, so but yeah, due diligence is a huge part of your world, obviously, and good inspection tool is important. All right, if you jump over to the next question, it'd be great. And this one has to do with the deal making side, and that apparently on the financial and deal making side, technology has been slow to catch on. This is not in my space, so I'm not going to be able to add any flavor to this, but why do you think that is? What needs to change in order for that to happen?
Well, I think, we use data a lot on the deal making side. So we're using, market-based information sources like axiometrics. We're using, database research and so forth. But deal making is still done the old-fashioned way. It's about information, but it's how you're putting it all together. There are a number of companies that are using data at a different level, where they're really researching down to the street level all kinds of comp data to make investment decisions with, and that's been the basis of their platform. One of those groups is Cadre, which is an investment startup that's been supported by Goldman Sachs and others. And so, I think it's the access to research software when it comes to rent pricing, comp data, and so forth. But truth is, on the investment side, it's still done the old-fashioned way through computer modeling, and then ultimately feeling where the price point is of a deal.
The data has to be trustworthy in order for it to really change the art of the deal. And
exactly.
When we're digging in and doing underwriting, or when Bob's team's digging in and doing underwriting, you still find anomalies between your real-time data gathering and what you've gotten through your services. And so when those 2 points meet, that's when I think it's really going to change. And we've come 100 miles, compared to what it was. It's so much more precise than it used to be, but we're still, I would just say we're just still not quite there yet. And these aren't small deals, these are large investments, and a little bit of change in an underwriting number can kill the deal.
It could be actually.
Yeah, and exactly. So, I would say we've come. Heck, Bob's probably using it 50% of the time now, when 5 years ago it was 20%, and 3 years from now it'll be 70%.
Yeah, but a big part of that is got to be trusting the data. How do you know that the data is accurate, from the right source, and current? That's
correct.
No,
it's the current part that's been the biggest challenge in the past. We only aggregate the data once a month. Well, that's not, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for it from yesterday.
And that's why there's no substitute for showing up. You really have to do the field work to support your data findings, because things change in a minute with LRO and other pricing tools. The market could be changing right in front of you, and if you're just looking backwards, that's not going to work. The other place we've used data very effectively with debt management software is through groups like Chatham Financial that help large owners put all their debt information into one place. So you're constantly being able to look at all the different factors of your debt that could lead to investment decisions about properties and so forth, where you're not just looking at paper files.
Right. So another good way to use technology for that part of the solution. Absolutely. All right, let's jump to the next question if we could. So here's a good one, right? Technology is allowing residents to be more autonomous, right? How are you using that technology to empower residents to resolve maintenance issues? I think one of you even mentioned on our previous call that you're teaching residents how to maybe fix something, right?
And it's gone surprisingly well. It's been kind of a force-fed deal, just because the resident doesn't want one of our technicians in their home, and we don't want to send our technician into the home. So we had to come up with a solution. And so, videoing solutions at the property level, because each one of these properties are, they're different and dynamic. And so creating solutions to teach people how to repair an appliance or fix their toilet, or, how to deal with the hot water tank, or, to turn it on and off, and, those types of things.
Right.
It's been extremely successful.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check out the Avenue 5 videos to see if Walt's making a cameo on those.
Oh, okay. You can see him with like the tool belt on, kneeled down next to a toilet.
Exactly.
He's got the Bob the Builder Avenue 5 outfit on.
I've not done that yet.
So I think the other area that, frankly, what technology's done through, in a basic level, the internet, is that the consumer has become really highly, highly informed. And it's really empowered the consumer to really be able to know and understand what their rental dollar is buying, and be able to comparison shop very quickly, which creates a sense of empowerment, which also creates an ability to make a decision quicker. So I think that's moved the entire industry along.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, Walt, when one of your residents fixes the toilet, do you like reduce their rent by $12 that month, or?
We're not. No.
Well, let me ask you this: when the resident sends you the maintenance request, does your software say, "Hang on a second, try this before you call us"? Like maybe, hey, here's a video on how to reset your thermostat before we send a guy out there?
So we certainly are queuing them on a regular basis that these videos are available.
Okay.
I can't say that we have the technology that is going to intervene and just tell them as they send in the work order. But
I might know somebody who could do that for you.
I assume that's what the leading question was about.
How about you, Bob? Are you on your properties? Are you also having some of your tenants, having them coach them through making some repairs on their own?
Candidly, we have not done that, but our management folks, such as Walt, are doing that. So we're really depending more on what they're doing, and we certainly encourage it.
Right. So of course, then it comes to the question: if you have so many in-house guys and gals that are doing all this work, maybe those staffs are decreasing a little bit because you're not sending them into the homes. Does that mean you're moving some of that work to outside vendors? You're probably playing with that mix, right, of in-house teams versus outside vendors during this pandemic. I got to think that's. If you're on mute, well. Yep.
Sorry about that. Utilizing outside vendors during this process, during the pandemic, it's become more difficult than
more difficult.
Well, if you're talking about having somebody go into an apartment home, yes,
right.
We're not.
Yep.
We're doing very little of that, but has it helped us already do some streamlining? Yes, it has. What is it going to be like post-vaccine? I can't tell you for sure. But there's no question that many things, and this will probably be one of them. It's going to be a trend that's going to continue. And we anticipate that it's going to we will experience some savings out of it.
Yeah,
I think as Walt said, I think it's going to continue. I think the landlord that doesn't embrace the technology of virtual leasing and self-guided tours is probably going to get left behind. Because I think people are going to become more and more comfortable with that. Again, there's no substitution for showing up, but having the option provides a lot of autonomy and freedom.
Yeah, also probably depends on who your target, right? If you're a workforce, probably less technology. If you're renting to millennials, probably more technology driven. So
correct.
Yeah. Definitely tenants see technology as added value, right? Almost an amenity. Like I want a pool and I want automatic locks or, whatever. So definitely seeing that moving forward. I think we have one last question, about 5 minutes to go, I believe. So technology is finally catching up to real estate and it's evolving quickly. How durable do you think these changes are going to be? So that's kind of the same thing we just talked about, right? Some of these changes are going to outlive the pandemic and maybe some will not. What I like to ask is, of all these technologies you've seen emerge over this past year, what's the one technology that you're most excited about that you think will have legs going forward post-pandemic?
I would just say that first of all, that as I've mentioned a time or two, I think that these technologies will have legs if we can quantify what it does to our bottom line. Right. And because if we can underwrite, or if Bob's acquisition team can underwrite a certain amount of savings, if you make an investment in X, and what does that do to a 7-year hold of an apartment building? those are the technologies that are really going to gain the legs. And I would say that the single most popular event that has happened during the pandemic is the self-guided tour. It's been surprising how people like the ability, and that's with, you're going to need a different lock system and those types of things, is to give them a tour path so that they can do this tour path on their own and spend the time looking at the things that they want to, and then have the ability to interact with our people either during it or after their tour. And they walk away from the experience, if it's done well, with a very positive attitude about their experience. And if we can create that over the long haul and actually see the savings from the investments into the technology, then I think it's here to stay.
Well, I would agree with that. I think you'll also see consolidation in the whole business intelligence software industry. And we're seeing that at many, many levels already. And eventually platforms will become more unified and so forth, so that, it becomes sort of a menu where you're working off of a single platform, do many, many different things. I think the other area that we'll probably see is artificial intelligence. And we're seeing some of that already in revenue management, but it'll probably leak its way into expenses and formulating marketing plans and targeting investment markets and so forth. So I think we're just at the surface here.
Yeah, and the chatbot AI is a great example of that. I also think that the whole concept of the Internet of Things, the IoT, where smart technology is going to be wired into a property, and we can manage our spend based upon forward thinking, not what happened last month, and cost effectively plan for the maintenance of a large property through technology. I think that it is the thing of the future. It's going to take a while because the investments are fairly significant.
Yep.
But the more we can do that and make those investments up front, then I think you really have a more cost-effective maintenance operation.
Right.
And I'm hopeful that we'll be seeing that.
Yep, you bet. And like you say, all these different technologies you're talking about, it's really all about, we like to call it the tech stack, right? All the different technologies you blend together into your single platform that best suits your business. And we're definitely seeing that as a future in the technology and the real estate space. So with that, I think we're about done. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your insights. We really appreciate it. And I appreciate the time I've been able to spend with you guys today.
Thank you, Dino. Thank you, Walt.
Thank you, Dino. Thanks, Bob. As always, a pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure to meet you.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
What a great session. Thank you, Bob, Walt, and Dino. That's it for today's general session. I hope you found it as interesting as I did. We're going to take a short break, and then at 2:30 Eastern Time, the tracks will begin. We have 4 tracks today: prop tech, finance and deal making, operations tech, and our innovation stage. All tracks have world-class speakers, so you can't go wrong. We'll be back together again at 5 p.m. for the special trivia networking event. Until then, enjoy.